Hi there. Welcome to another Windward tutorial on making this Windward invoice sample. My name is Adam. I am a product manager at Windward Studios. We are in the process of building this gorgeous Windward invoice in Microsoft Word using the Windward add-in. And let's continue from where we left off. So far, we've got our top section of our document here. We have connected to our data, and we've started populating our template with dynamic values. If you're joining us now, please take a look at the past videos to learn how to do all these things. And with that said, let's get going. So I'm going to insert a table as we have been doing. If I look at my goal output here, it looks to me like I have two big columns in this table. Like we used a merge functionality earlier, I'm going to create these two columns and this desired output by using a split functionality, which I will show you momentarily. But let's start off by inserting a table with two big columns. I'm also going to have like a header row here at the top. These are titles, payment information, and products. So I'm going to start off by doing a row at the top, a row below, and two columns. So we'll do two rows and two columns. So let's take a look. 2x2 table. There we go. Populate our information here nice and early, payment information and products. And I'm going to make those bold as little headers. And now under payment information, this is the same information as we have in our bill to. Looks like we added a phone number here, but we can use that same query tag we used earlier to get our bill to information. Let's just make sure we have the user's phone number available. So go into customer, query. We'll open up our Windward wizard like we have used in the past videos. And like it's been before, it's as easy as drag and drop. We'll open up our customers table here. Here's a phone number. Let's drag and drop that. And we have it queried. I hope. Where is it? There it is. Awesome. Click OK. And now let's fill in this information. Name and phone number. We'll do the name first. And it's going to be our customer query var. Contact name. And then I will do an out tag for the phone number. Nothing too groundbreaking here, hopefully. The same sorts of things we've been doing in our past videos. Output should be getting pretty close to what we're looking for. All right, looking pretty good. One thing is, look at that. We should have like a dividing line between our new section and our old section. So let's try and put that in. In this template, the way I've done that is I'm still leveraging these tables and the kinds of functionality native tables allow us to leverage. If I highlight these two cells, just like I removed borders before, I can go into my table tools layout table tools design, and I can put just a top border at the top of this table. And that should give us a nice divider, there it is, top border, between this section and our previous section. We'd like to see this with our table view grid lines, table grid lines. There's what that looks like. This is a little bit kind of clustered there at the top. Maybe I'll just put like an indent there to make that look better. Does that look better? What do you think? I don't know. I don't like it. Let's get rid of it. We'll revisit it later if we think it's necessary. Okay. Now we are going to get into some heavy templating stuff. Strap on your seatbelts. No, not so much. But we are going to use a for each tag, which we haven't yet in this template. So let's go ahead in here. Like I said before, what I'm going to do is I want to get this output view of, I have like two big columns, but then within this side column, I have a column here on the left and a column here on the right. And how I have this template set up right now, what I can do is I can actually select this cell, put my cursor in that cell. If I go to Design, Table Tools, Layout, I can click this Split Cells button, and it will let me split my cell either into columns or rows. In this case, I want two columns in the one cell that I have selected. Click OK, and we're going to get two columns there. Now we can achieve that formatting we have in the output template of multiple columns. We'll start to fill out some static values here, namely this products, or we already have that in, don't we? Right here. So I guess we don't need to do static values. We're going to go into the dynamic values now. These values in the output are all dynamic. Product names, quantities of that product being ordered for this specific customer order. And anytime you have a case where you're outputting multiple records like this with the same formatting, here we have the same bold, we have the same quantities sort of listed here, we are going to use what is called a for each tag. This means for each record returned by the select, we're going to do something. So we'll go here, we're going to select for each tag from our tags dropdown to insert that into the document. And this for each tag will have a query, much like our query tag. But instead of querying a single row, we can query what might return multiple rows. And then for each row of data returned, we will loop over each row at a time and do outputting for that, make some output for that row. When you're putting in a for each, you also need to put in an end for each. That will indicate over what area the for each will continue to replicate the formatting specified for each row. In this case, let's start off by just, I'm going to highlight this table. I'm going to insert a row below, and we'll put the end for each down there. How do I do this? Layout, here we go. Insert below. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw this end for each below in a new cell. I'm spacing out. There we go. So we have our for each, we have our end for each. Everything between these two tags will be repeated in the output of the template until every record that was returned by the for each query has been dealt with. So let's make this for each's query and see how this works. I'm going to go open my wizard per usual. And actually, before we do that, let's look at what we're actually trying to get. It looks like we're trying to get products. And like we've been dealing with this whole time, we have an input parameter that is specifying the order ID that this specific invoice is for. So we're going to want products that were ordered in the order ID specified. So we'll open up our wizard, and we're looking for products. Let's look for products. There's some products. Oh. I'll try doing it without a plural. There we go. Okay, first we have product ID here and order details. There's also the products table down there. Now, it's my belief that this order details table is what we're going to want. We currently have an order ID passed in. Let me expand this. We have an order ID passed into our template by an input parameter. And what this order details table looks to be doing is that it's going to pair up order IDs with product IDs. That will be the products that were in that order. And for each one of these order details rows in the SQL, we will have the quantity of that product that was ordered, the unit price of that product, it looks like is here, and if there was a discount applied. We're not going to deal with discounts in this template, but we do have that data here. All right, so for this select, it looks like we're going to be using most of that data, so I'm just going to drag the whole thing over, the whole table, and that will bring me all the rows into the select. Now, one other thing we're going to need is, if you remember in our output, our desired output, we had the product name. As I showed before, it's really easy when you can see that there's a product ID in this table and there's a product ID in this table. We can just drag product name in, and the Windward Designer will automatically create this complex SQL concept called a SQL join. It's not too complex, but it is more complex than we have to know to make this template. All we have to know is to drag and drop product name, and this is done for us automatically. And what we'll have is we'll have the correct product name associated with this product ID. Now, this is a lot more records than we need for this table we're creating. We have multiple order IDs here. We only need to be looking at order details for the order ID that was passed in. So I'm going to go into order ID details. I'm going to select the order ID column, and I'm going to match that with the order ID input parameter that was passed into our template. And just like that, we have 2 records returned. Hit OK, save that tag, and so far so good. Let's output and see what happens. We have successful output, but nothing too interesting so far. Nothing actually output into our document. All right, let's try seeing to get some output. Now, why is it that we didn't have anything output in the output document there? The reason is because a for each tag, much like a query tag, doesn't actually cause any output. It will not itself output anything. It simply collects data from the database and stores it in a template variable. In fact, while we're talking about template variables, when we were working with these query variables before, we gave them a nice and easy to understand template variable. And we also gave them nicknames. This is back to our ugly default showing the query. Let's give this a nickname and make it look a little bit better. I'm going to call this for each order detail. And for a variable name, we'll call this order details loop. That's what we're doing after all, is we're looping over order details. Sometimes I like to put var at the end of these just to remind myself it's a variable. There we go. For each order details loop var. There we go. Okay, so we have stored some values here in this for each loop. Let's see if we can get those into output. Like before, we can output those values using the out tag. If I put an out tag here, it looks like in our template we have the product names bolded. So I'm going to put an out tag. I'm going to select from my for each sections of this data tree. We have here the order details loop var that we just set up. Here's all of the columns that we queried in the select wizard for that for each tag. And what we want right now is the product name. So I'll select the product name there. And I can put text formatting on this tag, and it will apply in the output just like it applies in the tag, or sorry, in the template on the tag. So I'm going to put it in bold since the product name is bolded in output. Let's see what we get. Let's use our same default value there. And certainly enough, we have tofu in bold and a word I can't say for dried apples in in bold. So far so good. We're getting some output. I'd say we're moving forward. To finish up this video, let's add in the final details we need on the left side here, the quantity with an out tag, quantity being static text, this value being dynamic text, and then we will call it a day on this video. So go to the end of the line, we'll go to a new line. I'm just going to do a couple of spaces here to achieve this indentation. Do a couple of spaces, and then we'll put our, before I put a tag down, quantity, static text, and then the space, everything except for the dynamic value we're going to fill in, which we'll put an out tag, and then we'll query from our data tree here the quantity. Check our progress in the output, and things are coming along quite nicely. So that being said, we'll finish this one today, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.